Libra, your mother never told you what really happened the day you were born, but your soul has never forgotten. You were not just born. You were sent. A sacred presence was with you when you arrived. And now, that memory is rising again, ready to change everything. This is not just a horoscope. This is a divine remembering, and your heart is finally ready. Hello, beautiful Libra. Welcome to Zodiac Whisper Tarot, where astrology meets soul memory, and where the deeper part of you is always seen, always felt, and never judged. If you're watching this right now, know this: it's not random. This video found you because a deeper part of you called it in. Maybe you've been feeling strange dreams lately, emotions you can't explain, or flashes of stillness that leave you breathless. That's not coincidence, it's activation. It's your soul saying, I remember what my mother couldn't say out loud, but I was there too. You've always sensed you were different. Not louder. Not better. But tuned differently. You notice things others don't. You crave beauty not for show but for harmony. You can't stand injustice, not because you're soft, but because your soul was born from balance itself. Libra, you were born with a frequency that helps realign the world around you. But first, it's time to remember what you came here for. Let's begin with a little spiritual check-in. What angel number just popped into your mind? Was it 111? 333? 999? Or something uniquely yours? Type it in the comments below. It's your personal sign from the universe that you are awake and in flow with this message. I want to take a moment to say this from the deepest part of my heart. Thank you. Thank you for being here. For showing up for your own inner journey. For every like, every comment, every subscription, you're not just helping this channel grow. You're helping build a space where souls remember who they truly are. And that matters more than you know. Because what's coming next in this reading isn't just a prediction. It's a revelation. A message that may finally explain why you've always felt like you were searching for something that didn't have a name. Why your mother looked at you sometimes like you were from somewhere else. Why peace feels like your nature and yet chaos always finds you. Stay with me, Libra, all the way until the end. Because when the soul remembers, the whole world begins to shift. As it is written, you are not here to be forgotten or dismissed. You are here to awaken something ancient that the world still desperately needs. And today, we remember it together. So tell me, my beloved Libras, what called you here today? Sometimes, the most powerful moments in our lives leave behind no photographs, no written records, only a feeling. And for you, Libra, that feeling began the moment your soul entered this world. It wasn't just a birth, it was a summoning. The balance that you have always tried to bring into the lives of others is not a trait you learned, it's a mission your soul agreed to before you even arrived. That is why your presence, even in silence, often shifts the energy in a room. People may not know how or why, but when you walk in, something recalibrates. There's a harmony you carry that cannot be taught. Your mother may have never spoken of it, but she felt it. In the quiet of that delivery room, time didn't just slow, it paused. The air changed. It wasn't about doctors or monitors or science. It was something unexplainable, something sensed in the soul before it's ever understood in the mind. She might have looked into your eyes and felt a presence far older than a newborn. And while she may have dismissed it as exhaustion or emotion, something in her knew, you were not like the others. And so she held that truth silently, protecting it with the reverence it deserved. There's a beautiful lesson here, one that doesn't require mystical language to be understood. Sometimes, love is shown in restraint, in choosing not to speak what cannot yet be held. And while silence can feel like distance, it can also be a sacred pause. Like the space between heartbeats, it holds the weight of what words could never carry. Perhaps your mother chose not to tell you because her soul trusted yours to one day remember without needing to be reminded. You see, Libra, your very essence carries the vibration of temperance, the alchemy of opposites, the gentle blending of fire and water, reason and intuition. Paired with the energy of the star, you represent hope that arrives after chaos, the guiding light that doesn't demand attention, only alignment. And in judgment, we find your soul's higher purpose, not to judge others, but to awaken them, gently, by embodying the truth they've forgotten. Even your affinity for beauty, softness, fairness, all of that is written into your energetic code. That's why you are so deeply affected by what others might overlook. It's not sensitivity in the fragile sense, it's sensitivity as strength, as clarity, as a finely tuned instrument created to restore peace in a disharmonic world. Think about the colors that make you feel most yourself: the cool breath of mint blue, the gentle warmth of rose blush, the clean quiet of ivory white. These aren't just aesthetic preferences. These are energetic tools. Each shade invites you back into balance, reminding your nervous system that it's okay to soften, to return to your natural rhythm. Colors are not just visual. They're felt, absorbed. They heal. And in moments when doubt creeps in, when you wonder whether you're enough, whether you're doing too much or not enough, remember this: you were never asked to fix the world. You were asked to hold your center. And from that place, everything else finds its place again. It is written not in any book, but in the way creation moves. Those who know how to listen bring more change than those who only know how to speak. So if your mother didn't say the words, trust that she still carried the awareness. And if you've been waiting to hear them from her or anyone, perhaps now is the time to give yourself permission to say them for the first time. I was chosen. I am the balance. And I remember. Not everything that looks perfect feels right, and no one knows that better than you, Libra. There's a quiet weight you've carried for much of your life, the pressure to keep the peace, to smooth over tension, to fit into spaces that were never designed with your spirit in mind. But harmony is not the absence of conflict. Harmony is truth in balance. It's the sacred space where honesty and compassion meet, where you no longer shrink yourself to make others more comfortable. That's the kind of balance you were born to restore, not one made of rules or appearances, but one born of realignment. You've likely noticed how your body tenses up in rigid environments. Spaces where there's too much control, too many unspoken expectations, or where everything seems perfect on the surface but feels emotionally sterile underneath. Your energy knows better. You sense the dissonance even before it becomes visible. That's not a flaw in you, that's your gift. Your discomfort is an inner compass. It tells you where your light is most needed. And here's what makes that so powerful: you don't force change. You simply offer presence. You observe. You listen. You shift with intention. And in doing so, You allow others to feel seen in a way they've forgotten how to see themselves. The balance you carry is not static, it's alive. It breathes, it adjusts, it flows. You weren't born to follow the rules. You were born to rewrite the rules gently, silently, through example. There's a reason the numbers 6 and 11 hold significance for your sign. In numerology, 6 is the vibration of love, nurturing, healing, the heart-centered path. While 11 is the master number of insight, spiritual intuition, and illumination. Together, they represent the journey from emotional wisdom to visionary action. When these numbers show up around you, they are soft reminders from the universe. You are not here to maintain a false peace. You are here to restore what is honest within and without. That restoration begins with self-awareness. With learning when to step back. When to draw a new boundary. When to say, this looks fine, but it doesn't feel safe. And that's not selfish. That's sacred. Because your well-being is not a side project, it's the foundation of the balance you offer others. You don't need to exhaust yourself trying to keep everything together. That's not your calling. Your calling is to listen to your own inner scale. And when something feels off, give yourself permission to adjust, not just for others, but for you. If you've ever felt suffocated by perfection, trapped in cycles of trying to please, or drained by the weight of invisible expectations, it's time to release those patterns. One way to start is with a quiet reflection practice. Each evening, especially during a waning moon, ask yourself, what are 3 things I no longer need to carry today? Write them down. Burn the paper. Breathe deeply. Repeat until your heart feels just a little lighter. Also remember, your energy isn't meant to be on all the time. Even the most balanced scale needs rest. Let yourself recharge. Walk in nature. Wear colors that bring you peace: mint blue, rose quartz pink, soft ivory. These aren't just aesthetic choices. They're tools. Let them hold you while you reset. Let yourself be supported. And as a gentle reminder from the divine, spoken not with thunder but with kindness, you don't have to prove your worth by how much you hold for others. You were chosen not to carry everything, but to bring things back into truth. And that begins by honoring your own. There are moments when someone says your name, and for a split second, you flinch, not from discomfort, but from disconnection. It's as if they're calling to a version of you that no longer fits, or perhaps never did. For many Libras, this sensation is subtle yet persistent. You smile. You answer. You move forward. But inside, there's a quiet question: is this really me? That question doesn't mean you're lost. It means you're beginning to wake up. Names are meaningful, but they're not always complete. A name given at birth is often chosen with love, tradition, hope, and yet, it can only capture a fraction of your essence. Who you are has always stretched far beyond letters or sounds. Your true identity isn't bound by language. It's carried in the way your energy shifts a room, in the unspoken clarity you bring to chaos, in the stillness that radiates from you even when your world feels loud. That's not something anyone can label. It's something only your soul recognizes. In astrology, Libra is ruled by Venus, the planet of beauty, values, and connection. And yet, Venus in Libra doesn't seek beauty for decoration, it seeks alignment, inner harmony, resonance. The same way a perfectly tuned instrument hums without effort, your soul has been waiting to return to its original note, the frequency of who you really are. That resonance is your real name. Not the one printed, but the one that moves through you when you are most alive, most at peace, most honest. You may have noticed this longing in dreams, those fleeting moments where someone calls to you from across a glowing landscape, a bridge of light, a voice that speaks not in words but in feeling. These aren't random nighttime visions. They're invitations. Soft echoes of the part of you that's always known more, always remembered deeper truths, even when your waking mind couldn't explain them. They ask nothing of you but stillness. They don't demand answers. They offer remembrance. And here's what makes that powerful: your soul doesn't need permission to return to itself, it needs space. Not silence for the sake of escape, but stillness for the sake of listening. In that space, your inner voice, the one that existed long before titles, roles, or obligations, begins to speak again. Not loudly, not urgently, but with grace. If you're willing, even a small ritual can open that doorway. Sit with music that carries the right frequency, like 639 Hz, a tone that naturally encourages emotional healing and heart alignment. Close your eyes, breathe, and allow whatever arises to come forward. Don't chase a name. Let a feeling find you. You may not hear syllables. You may not see letters. But something inside you will respond. A calm. A breath. A memory without images. That is more than enough. And if it helps, take a pen and simply write, "I allow myself to remember the name only I can feel." That act alone, the courage to be curious about yourself again, is a form of healing. It's a gentle rebellion against all the ways the world tried to define you. And it's a soft return to the identity your soul has always carried, waiting for you to pick it up again. You don't need to rush this process. Just stay open. You don't need to have answers. Just be willing to listen. And always remember, what is meant for you doesn't need to be chased, it will rise in you when you're ready. Sometimes, all it takes is one quiet moment, one open heart, and the willingness to say, maybe who I am is greater than I've been told. There are certain forms of connection that don't rely on language, and a mother's gaze is one of them. You may not remember the first time your mother held you close, but your body does. You may not recall the way her breath caught when she looked into your eyes, but something in your spirit never forgot. For many Libras, that early connection, though quiet, unspoken, and often misunderstood, remains one of the deepest energetic threads throughout life. This isn't about whether words were said, but about what was felt. And more often than not, what was felt was everything. A mother doesn't need to explain what she senses. Sometimes, she can't. Not because she doesn't love enough, but because some truths are so profound they can only be held, not spoken. If you've ever felt a strange distance from your mother, an emotional pause, a silence you couldn't explain, it's possible that space was her way of protecting something sacred inside you. That distance may not have been a rejection. It may have been reverence. A soft boundary around something she didn't know how to define, but instinctively didn't want to disturb. In astrology, Libra is ruled by Venus, the planet of relationships, yes, but also of value and protection. And your mother, in her own way, may have sensed the value of your energy long before anyone else could name it. Even if she didn't understand what made you different, she likely knew enough not to interfere. She may have looked at you and felt the weight of something ancient, something luminous, and rather than question it, she simply honored it with her quiet presence. This kind of bond doesn't always look like closeness. Sometimes it looks like a hand on your shoulder at the exact moment you needed grounding. Sometimes it shows up as a simple glance held a second too long, or a touch that lingered without reason. These moments are not accidents. They are proof of a language deeper than words, the language of care translated through subtle gestures. The tarot cards associated with this part of your story, the Queen of Cups and the Page of Pentacles, reflect both the emotional intelligence of nurturing and the tender newness of something precious being planted. The Queen doesn't speak loudly. She listens. She holds. She feels deeply. The Page, in contrast, carries something delicate and full of promise. Together, they reflect the exchange between your mother's silent knowing and your soul's emerging purpose. You were not just raised. You were recognized, even if the recognition didn't look the way you expected. If you're carrying any tension, confusion, or longing around your relationship with your mother, especially if it feels like something was never quite resolved, consider this. Perhaps it was never broken. Perhaps the silence was her way of leaving a door open. Not closed. Not locked. Just quietly ajar, waiting for you to step back through when the time felt right. One way to begin that process is through reflection. On the night of the new moon, a time for beginnings and quiet intentions, write a letter to your mother. Even if she's no longer with you, even if she never said the words you needed to hear, write from the part of you that knows what was real. Thank her for the space, for the effort, for the mystery she may never have been able to explain. And then, read the letter aloud to yourself. This isn't about healing her. It's about restoring your own understanding of what was felt, even in the silence. And remember, there is divine wisdom in stillness. Sometimes, the most loving thing a person can do is not rush the unfolding. Let that truth settle in your heart. The door between you and your mother was never truly closed, only waiting for you to see it had always been open. Somewhere along the way, you began to feel it, a quiet but unmistakable shift within you. Maybe it came through a song that stopped you in your tracks, or a repeating number that showed up just a little too often to ignore. Perhaps it was in the stillness after a long day, when something in your chest stirred for no reason you could name. These are not coincidences. They're invitations. Markers on your path that say, "You're waking up now. Keep going." For Libra, a sign born under the influence of Venus, awakening doesn't always look loud or sudden. It's gentle, layered, rhythmic, like ripples in water after a single drop falls. You've likely been sensing that parts of your life no longer feel aligned the way they once did. And that's not failure. It's growth. In fact, it's one of the clearest signs that your soul is in motion, asking you to come home to yourself again. The law of attraction reminds us that when we stop resisting who we truly are, life rearranges to meet us in that truth. Your differences, the ones you once tried to hide or tone down to fit in, are actually your map. They point to your power, the kind that doesn't overpower others, but guides you back into harmony. That's what balance really is. Not perfection, not sameness, but aligned living. And aligned living requires small, conscious choices, daily acts of remembering what matters to you. You might start by listening to your body. If you've been feeling tired for no clear reason, check in with your rhythms. Have you been honoring your need to rest, especially during certain moon phases? Have you noticed how your energy dips after too much caffeine or mental overload? These things may seem small, but they're all signals. Your system is intelligent, and it's constantly trying to keep you in balance if only you'll pause to listen. In your relationships, too, something may be asking for truth. It's exhausting to keep pretending that everything is okay when it isn't. You're allowed to want more connection, more clarity, more care. Start by being honest with yourself about what you need and then, slowly, begin speaking from that place. When your words come from truth, not fear, they carry real weight. And those who are meant to understand will feel it. Financially, you may be learning that not all spending is equal. Some purchases are peacekeepers, things we buy to avoid confrontation or to feel seen. Others are investments, quiet yes to what actually nourishes us. Begin noticing the difference. Where are you exchanging your energy out of habit, and where are you fueling your future? Redirect with intention. You don't need to control everything. You just need to realign. And when it comes to your work or sense of purpose, let go of the guilt that comes with change. Losing motivation isn't always laziness, sometimes it's your soul saying, "This path no longer reflects me." If the fire has dimmed, don't force it to stay lit. Instead, ask what new spark might be waiting beneath the ashes. You're allowed to pivot. You're allowed to explore. Nothing about your calling was ever supposed to keep you trapped. If this moment feels like a turning point, trust it. Let yourself mark it. Take a piece of paper and write down one thing you're ready to release, and one thing you're now committed to pursue. Hold that paper in your hand like a promise. Then, if you feel called, share your intention in the comments. Let this be your affirmation: I am ready to live in alignment with the frequency of my soul. And as you move forward, remember what grace truly means: not walking without stumbling, but choosing to rise each time, softer and clearer than before. If you've made it this far, Libra, take a deep breath. Not because something is ending, but because something has just begun. You didn't arrive here by accident. You didn't stumble upon this message by luck. Somewhere inside you, a part of your soul called this in. And if there's one thing I hope you truly carry from this reading, it's this: you don't need to be told who you are. You've always known. You just needed space to remember. You were never waiting for someone else to name your purpose. That weight in your chest, the ache you feel when things are out of balance, the way you sense what others overlook, that's your proof. You are not here to please the world. You are here to restore truth in gentle ways the world has forgotten. Maybe that truth can't be shouted. Maybe it can't always be explained. But it's felt. In your presence. In your clarity. In your quiet refusal to accept what isn't real. And yes, maybe your mother never said it out loud. Maybe no one looked you in the eyes and told you you came into this life with a mission. But you didn't need them to. Because deep inside, your body kept the memory. And today, you allowed yourself to hear it again, not through noise, but through resonance. Through energy. Through honesty. So now, the question becomes, What will you do with what you've remembered? Will you keep quiet out of habit, or will you begin to speak from the calm knowing that lives in your bones? Will you continue molding yourself to fit into a space, or will you finally make space for yourself fully, unapologetically? Because balance doesn't mean shrinking. Balance means choosing yourself and letting others adjust. Balance means resting when the world screams, hustle. It means asking for softness when others expect perfection. And it means trusting that what's real for you is sacred enough to honor even when no one else understands it. And so I ask you, from one soul to another, what part of you is awakening right now? What truth have you been holding in your chest, waiting for someone else to confirm, that maybe only needed your permission to rise? You don't have to have it all figured out. Just be honest. Just take one step. Maybe tonight, you sit in silence and write down what your heart wants, without censoring yourself. Maybe tomorrow, you choose peace over performance. And maybe next week, you speak a truth that scares you, not to prove anything, but to realign with who you really are. And if this video felt like something in you was being seen, or even remembered, I invite you now to comment the angel number that found you today. Was it 444? 555? 1212? There are no wrong answers. Each number you share becomes part of the collective energy we're building, one grounded in connection, healing, and awakening. Tap the like button if your soul felt something open today. Subscribe to Zodiac Whisper Tarot if you're ready to keep walking this path, not just of knowing your sign, but of becoming the full power behind it. And above all, whisper this to yourself one last time, even if only in your heart. I was never here to be perfect. I was here to be true. I remember now. And I'm ready. You, Libra, are the living breath of balance, not static, but ever evolving. And your presence here is already shifting the world in ways you may never see, but are deeply felt. Thank you for being here. Truly. I'll see you in the next message.